Come take a trip in my airship. Come take a sail among the stars. Come have a ride around Venus. Come have a spin around Mars. Show us while we're busy. Show us to see while we school. Come take a trip in my airship and we'll visit the man in the moon. Will the audience please join me in whistling the chorus?
Hello and welcome to the Airship 27 podcast. I'm Chief Engineer Rob Davis, your co-host, here alongside, virtually, Captain Ron Fortier.
Hey, loyal airmen, welcome. And surprise, surprise, we're getting another show in, after last month's, all right? And much as promised last month, at the end of last month, we've reserved this particular episode for a countdown of the 22 titles we released in 2022. But before we get to that and other hopefully fun things for all of you, Rob gets the distinct honor of leading off with this podcast episode's bad joke. So take it away, Chief Engineer.
All right, here we go. A businessman was interviewing job applicants for a large division manager position. He quickly devised a test for choosing the most suitable candidate. He simply asked each applicant this question: what is 2 plus 2? The first interviewee was a journalist. His answer was 22. The second was a social worker. She said, I don't know the answer, but I'm very glad that we had the opportunity to discuss it. The third applicant was an engineer. He pulled out a slide rule and came up with an answer somewhere between 3.999 and 4.001. Okay. Next came an attorney. He stated, in the case of Jenkins versus the Department of the Treasury, 2 plus 2 was proven to be 4. Finally, the businessman interviewed an accountant. When he asked him what 2 plus 2 was, the accountant got up from his chair, went over to the door, closed it, came back, and sat down. Leaning across the desk, he said in a low voice, how much do you want it to be?
Yes. Oh yeah. That's brilliant. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. I have a feeling that one's going to get repeated by a lot of our loyal airmen.
Clueless, but yeah, okay.
That's wonderful. Awesome. All right. Hey, so here we are. We're rocking. Okay. But next up, we're going to stop. Just take a little somber note, which I'm going to get to real quick here. Okay. And that's a farewell to writer Lou Mugen. Okay. We want to take a moment to remember fellow comic and pulp creator, writer Lou Mugen, who passed away on December 31st, the last day of the year, at the age of 68. Lou had long been suffering with diabetes. His death was a sudden and a shock to all of us who knew him, either personally or via correspondence online. Lou was truly a warm-hearted lover of comics and a brilliant writer. During the last year, Airship 27 had the privilege of publishing his novel, Joe Computer Private Eye. Lou's work had been showcased by dozens of other publishers, including our pals over at Pro Se Press. Our deepest condolences to his family and his many, many friends. This is a guy who's sorely going to be missed. He was a lot of fun for everybody. And like I said, his passing caught people by surprise. In this day and age, Rob, we deal with all kinds of things and whatever, but diabetes is still, as we see, a killer. It's a killer. It's just awful.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, look.
My older sister passed from complications of diabetes, so I understand. And another interesting fact is I'm the same age he was. So I'm 68. So that
it makes you think. It makes you reflect.
Oh, yeah. All right. That could have been me too. So
hey, live every day to the fullest, people. That's what these lessons are all about.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
live the best life you can.
Amen
All right.
to that, my pal. All right, look, 22 titles that we're going to get done in 22 minutes. No, no. All right. But hopefully within the hour we've allotted and we put you poor loyal airmen through each
And
podcast.
it looks like you've listed these in the order they were published. So,
right.
yeah.
I did a little homework, trying to get things the right way. One of the things I do want to mention before we start rolling these off, and I think we're going to go back and forth as we have in past shows like this. Each one of us reading off the title, the creators, and making whatever pithy comments we want to do along the way. But I think this comes at a rather appropriate time in that those loyal airmen who are members of the Pulp Factory are well aware we have started the process of nominating for this year's Pulp Factory Awards, which we'll be giving out at the Windy City Paper and Pulp Show. In April sometimes, as Rob and I usually run that show.
First, I think it's Friday the 21st.
Yeah, it's always the Friday night of the show. Yep. So anyways, that being the case, almost 500 members of the Pulp Factory now on Facebook have started posting their nominations, all right, for the 5 categories, and which always include best novel, best short story, best cover, best interior illustration, and finally, best anthology or collection. Now, as we read through this, okay, and I just want to make a point, last year's awards, our good friends over at Stormgate pretty much swept the awards, all right? And kudos to them, all great people, Brian K. Morris, Sal Mills.
Troops. They rallied the troops to get them to vote, and that's how this works. It's the fans that vote on it. So yeah, they're well within their rights to do what they did, and congrats to them for it.
Amen.
and putting out great enough books that the fans were interested in voting for them. So
trust me, they have no lack of titles this year, as neither does Prose, White Rocket Books, and whatever. The new pulp community has really, really grown in the last 5-6 years. So here's the thing. As Rob and I are reading off these titles of the books that Airship 27 produced last year, and we're equally proud of every single one of them, we'll be naming titles, artists, and writers, all of which, for the most part, are eligible this year for nominations in those categories. So we'd hope that you loyal airmen would, hey, jot down a name, jot down a title, a short story, or whatever, okay? And then get back to Facebook and join the process. Nominate, all right? All nominations mean, and somebody posted the other day about, these are so many, it's going to be hard to choose. To which my answer was reminding them, the nominations have no limits. If you had 10 novels in the new pulp community that you read last year and loved, you can nominate all 10.
Yeah.
This is the process of weaning out to the point where those titles and creators get the most votes, ultimately end up on the final ballot, which is then open to the public at large.
Yeah. So however many you liked last year, put them all down. If you thought they were all worthy of getting this award, you just list them. And I've got some that I've only got 3. Others I have 5 that I've nominated. So nominate as many as you want.
Please do, and that's like I said, and then leave it to the committee to wean out and deliver that final ballot, and that's the way we go. All right, so hey, without further ado, buddy, why don't you start with the first release of 2022?
The first one that came out in 2022 was Sherlock Holmes and the Adventure of the Iron Crown. This was written by Ray Lovato and Michael Black. And yours truly, I provided the interior illustrations, and Morgan Fitzsimons, she did the color cover for this. Originally we were going to have her do all the artwork on it, but I forget that she was having.
She had cancer. She had cancer of one of her feet, and went through all kinds of various different surgeries and whatever, which put poor Morgan back,
everything for her,
out of commission. Happily, she was able to deliver the cover, which was gorgeous. And I do want to make mention, because we just finished putting out the quarterly royalties for last year, the last quarter of 2022. And as always, our Sherlock Holmes books just sell like hotcakes. And
Yeah, they
this
blew
one was
everything else out of the
no
water. There were a couple
exception
of
at
other
all.
close. Yeah, there were a couple other close things, but as always, the Sherlock Holmes books, even the older ones, are still selling regularly every quarter. So,
Hey, thank you
yeah,
to one and all.
yeah,
Yeah. All right.
absolutely.
So shortly after Sherlock Holmes and the Adventure of the Iron Crown, we had Cape Noir, A Beast and Beauty Tale by moi. Yes, me, who spent most of the year and the year previously, 2021, in finally doing the prequel to my Brother Bones series. Um, Rob did the cover, all the interior illustrations, and I'm really happy that the response that I've gotten from Brother Bones fans has been pretty much positive. It was an opportunity to go back. I mean, one of the coolest characters, of course, in the Brother Bones series, aside from the undead Avenger himself, was one of his nemesis, which is the gorilla mobster, Harry Beast. All right, and
What a concept!
I glossed over that origin way back, 11, 12 years ago when I started the series. I gave it like a paragraph, Rob. We come into Brother Bones and he's already the gorilla monster, his brain having been transferred. And of course, there's a book there was a much larger story there. And so finally sat down, put things aside, and
Yeah,
delivered
it's
Cape
hinted at
Noir.
in that first story, but you didn't. This is an opportunity to flesh that out, give it a lot more depth, and it does a very good job of that.
Thank you.
Of course, as the illustrator, I read this book and I enjoyed it from page one all the way through. It was a great read.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I loved your
It was
illustrations.
fun. It was fun.
I really, really did. All right. So number 3.
Yes, and this is this was the one mentioned earlier from the late Lou Mougin. It's Joe Computer Private Detective, a novel by Lou Mougin that takes place in cyberspace of computers where programs are characters. Artist Fur Calvi provides both the interior illustrations and color cover. This should be yeah, and uh, this one was rather interesting in the fact that Lou actually wrote sequences in the book that were in what looks, he's trying to recreate computer code in the book. So designing this book was kind of, I'll have to say, it was a pain in the butt because of some of that. Because I wanted to make it look computerish, and Fur Calvi does a very stylized, and it really gets the feel of a computer animated figures. It's kind of
I mean, yeah, right.
and it's just
Even his cover,
yeah.
even his cover is an old Private Eye noir feel, but with the sharp angles and everything else, right? It was a match made in heaven. When I edited the book initially, was like, who's going to illustrate this thing? Okay. And along comes Fur, all right? And he had done some work with Mike Barron in the past, which they had promoted online. That was it. The minute I saw his work, I got a hold of him, and God bless him, he came on board and made this thing fly. It's a great book. It's unique. If you're at all curious about Lou's work, especially after our tipping our hats to him today, go check it out on Amazon, all right? It's a unique and representative of the man's genius and talent. All right. Book number 4 was another addition to one of our most popular series, Mystery Men and Women, and this is volume 1 and 2. And the idea being these were back in print. These weren't original, so let's get this straight. These were the first 2 volumes we did years ago when we started the series, and it's since gone out of print. So after almost 11 years, we decided it was time to bring back these 2 books in print. And as they were the only 2 series just available on Kindle. No longer the case. Volume 1 features stories by Barry Reese, David Boop, Aaron Smith, and B.C. Bell, while Volume 2 had yarns by Adam Lance Garcia, Greg Bastianelli, Andrew Salmon, and the late Mark Calegua and Derek Ferguson. And we want to tip our hats to Mark Van, what's his last, Zander, who basically has become a huge collector of Airship 27 titles and bemoaned the fact that these had gone out of print. So after a while, Rob got and I talking, and the series again is one of our best-selling series. We're going to have at least one volume, maybe two, this coming year. All right, and so it just seemed sense to get it back in print. Rob did a great job redesigning and re-putting it, and they are labeled as such, I believe, re-edited or whatever.
They're also I when I designed them, I designed the margins a lot narrower than our regular books are, so I could get it into fewer pages and charge a little less for it. Right. I mean, it's essentially everything's there that was from the original printed versions. It's just that there are fewer pages, so our costs are lower. So I passed that along so we could sell them for a little bit lower than our regular price point. And these were printed. These were originally printed when we were with another publisher. Who were a sub-publisher of them, and then when we decided to go out on our own, we couldn't bring every single book along with us. We were paying for the Isbans at that point, so and we didn't want to spend all this money on books that probably would sell just a handful of copies because they'd already been out for a while. So we went with Kindle, and some of them have sold well on Kindle, and this particular series has really taken off. And Mark's point was well taken. I figured, okay, he's absolutely right. We have 8 volumes of this book out now,
right?
And people, when they see if people come across the 8th one for the first time, they go, well, this is number 8. Where's the other ones? And they go back and they can only find 3 through
collector's mentality. People
then
want the entire series.
So and so I thought, well, I could redesign them a little bit, bring the price down a little bit, maybe sell them at that lower price point. And I haven't looked. I hadn't really looked at the numbers from this last time, but I think it did goose those just a little bit, and we did sell a few more of those than we have in the past.
I know. Yeah, and here's the thing: I know for a fact that all the creators involved with those 2 volumes, upon hearing what we were doing, were tickled pink. And you know what, Rob, as you're talking about sales, that's now being mirrored in their own copy, their own royalties now starting to perk on stories they'd written years ago, which is always great to see.
Yeah, because everything we publish is if it's been published since we started doing this ourselves, they're still in print. You can go to Amazon, order one, they'll print one for you. It's print on demand and send it to you. So even stuff that's from that long ago is still available and can still be ordered. So one of these,
hallelujah. All right,
down of some of the older stuff that's still out there that people might be interested in seeing. So anyway, let's go on to number 5, which is Domino Lady number 4, another great issue featuring stories by Gene Moyers, Kelly Noland, Kevin Findley, and Samantha Lienhardt. James Lyle did his usual great interior illustrations, and Ted Hammond once again turned in a dynamite cover. And he's been on just about every issue, every volume of Domino Lady we've done so far, isn't he?
Yes, he has.
He's the standard of that particular book.
He has been. That's going to change this year, only because our good friend, and I'm not going to name who it is, but one of our other artists came to us with a Domino Lady image, just priceless, and basically said, any chance this could be the cover of the next book, blah, blah, blah. And Rob and I were never going to turn down decent art. Beautiful art like that. Hard to find. And trust me, have no fear, Ted Hammond, because we've got a lot of projects lined up coming your way.
Very generous and done many covers for us. As little as they make off of us, our artists and creators, they knock stuff out of the park. And I wish I'd win the lottery so I could pay all these folks a bunch of money.
You and me both. Hey, look, we talk Pulp Factory Awards, okay? Ted Hammond, okay? Remember, Ted Hammond. Go check out our main page. Rob will put in the show notes. See the books that he covered for us last year. Everyone deserves an award. That's Ted Hammond. Remember that name. Okay?
Yeah, I will probably at the end of this, in the end credits, so stick around till the end, folks, like in the Marvel movies, because there's going to be stuff. I will probably I'm going to try and put every cover come up for a second or two. So, and you can, if you're on YouTube or whatever, you can pause it so you can take a look at the covers. But I'll put each one of those covers up of everything we put out last year so you can take a look at it.
All right. Way to go, Rob.
And then we'll also have a link to our catalog, which is airship27hangar.com. You can so you can go there at any time. So hopefully I'll put that in little titles and subtitles at the bottom of this picture here.
And but as we mentioned earlier, all the titles are available at Amazon. So
yeah,
keep that in mind when you look at those covers.
There. And come to find out, I forget exactly which series I was looking at, but I was looking at Amazon, and several series are on sale right now.
Oh.
Which, for some of them, almost half price.
Yeah.
Wow. So, which stunned me. But at the same time, I'm going, and the thing is, we still get the full royalties on them. No matter.
Yeah.
So I guess they're trying to goose sales on some of the older books. So yeah, go to if you got some interest in some of our old books, go and check them out because they might even be on sale right now for almost half price.
That is incentive. All right.
Last week.
All right, move right along. Number 6 was Mark Allegra's The Blue Light. And this was written by Nancy Hansen and Lee Houston Jr., but it was inspired by notes and ideas by our late buddy, Mark Allegra. This is a wonderful tribute book to our dear friend, Mark. Artist Sam Salles provided the interior illustrations, and Rob did the cover. Mark had passed away the year before, and as I've just mentioned, left copious notes for Nancy. Nancy was going to do it solo, but found herself so much in the band. She's got so many writing projects going on now. And ultimately, Lee Houston was a good friend, basically said, hey, I can help out here. And so together, they completed the novel that Mark always wanted to write. It was, again, a real honor and a tribute to get this out in his memory. I still miss this guy, Rob. I think of him all the time.
Yeah,
he was so much fun.
To see him at Windy City and Pulp Fest when it was in Columbus, and when it moved to Pittsburgh when we went that first year, he was there. Yeah. And it was always enjoyable to watch the two of you banter about baseball. He was a New York Yankees fan, and of course you were a Red Sox fan, and you were back and forth all throughout the con because his table. I mean, the last time we were together in Windy City, his table was kind of catty-cornered from ours, and you guys were. It was almost like you were batting balls back and forth at each other. It was kind of fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And when I heard he had passed, we knew he had been ill, but it was still a shock when we heard that he had passed. So it was our intention to honor him by putting this book out that he was wanting to do himself. He was a big Green Lantern fan, so he kind of based this character. It's not exactly like the Green Lantern, but it's a similar type of.
There are elements. You'll see where he was.
There's similarities between the two. That's the kind of character he liked. So he wanted to write something like that in the pulp vein, and it's a great little story that he came up with, and that they got fleshed out by
Nancy and Lee.
I'm sorry, I went blank there for a minute. But
all right.
Something to check out.
Okay, number 7, Rob.
All right, this is Mystery Men and Women, Volume 8. Once again, we have 4 terrific stories of new pulp heroes. This volume features writers Kevin Findley, Mark Allen Vann, Joel Jenkins, and the late Greg Hatcher, another friend that we lost in the last couple of years. Yours truly, I supplied all the art from the interiors to the cover for this one. And the story that, and this will get mentioned a little bit later, the story of Greg Hatcher's in this is also in a book that we'll mention here in a little bit, that collects all the Dr. Fix-It stories all in one place, along with a story that Greg had started but hadn't completed. That was completed by Fred Adams Jr. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. I won't go into it much more detail.
All right. Again,
anyway, I did the art on this one. So
yeah, and it again sold through the roof. Okay, it's just the series appeals to a lot of people. I think they like the showcase aspect of it and finding different characters, not just one theme. So then we followed that with our 8th release, which was Deadly Shadows. Now, this was the second John Shadows book by Teal James Glenn. It featured 2 stories of this martial arts trained adventurer. Artist Ted Lemon did Lemon, Lehman, Lemon.
Yeah, I'm thinking
you're going to get the
it could be lame.
pronunciation.
It could be
Yeah,
lame.
right.
Yeah.
Provided the interior illustrations, and Rob did the cover for this and did a great job. Ted loved the cover. The character is really a lot of fun. It's very much like the old gentleman adventures, like the Saint, all right, or the Falcon, those kind of things.
Yeah, kind of
But
a James
so far,
Bondish type of thing. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So
Secret agent.
we've done 2 books, and I'm sure Teal's probably got some more in the wings waiting to bring us. Okay, number 9.
Number 9 was Barry Baskerville's Fishing Adventure by Richard Kellogg with art by Gary Cato. Gary Cato, excuse me, Cato. This is the 8th in our children's book series about the boy who wants to grow up to be Sherlock Holmes. It's lots of fun for your kids or your grandkids. And I'm thinking this is grade school age. This is grade school age. It's a picture book. There's an illustration on just about every page. And it's very colorfully done by Gary Cato. This book is a lot of fun. it's a pain to lay out because I lay the thing out and I go, okay, Gary, here's a space for you to put something in, and he comes back and just knocks it out of the park every time. Yeah. But going through the book and going, okay, what should where should I break this so that there's an illustration? These books are a lot more work than any of the other books we do are. Plus, sometimes the art bleeds across the middle of the page. That's work too. So, but it's such a joy, and they're color. But it's such a joy to do these. They're so much fun. They really.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought when we first started Airship 27 that ultimately one day we'd be doing children's books? All right, yeah. But I mean, Richard Kellogg is a retired college professor, a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. And I think he wrote this originally for his granddaughter, who is now a young lady, all right? But every year he gives us a new one, and hopefully we will be getting out another Barry Baskerville later this year.
We get one, yeah. We get one done about every year. So yeah, we should have. And Richard's he loves writing them, so he just keeps pumping them out. So yeah, and they're, like I said, they're a lot of fun.
Okay. Number 10. And this one I was really anxious to get going. A new old series. Let's put it like this: The Adventures of Doc Atlas, Volume 1 by Michael Black and Ray Lovato. Contains 3 early Doc Atlas adventures, a character created as an homage to the old Doc Savage team, adventures by Michael and Ray. Artist Ed Cato, now it's Cato. Artist Ed Cato provided all the artwork, from the gorgeous black and white interiors to the fully painted cover. Yeah. This being his first cover for us. This is the beginning of a series which will reprint all the old Doc stories, leading to the debut of brand new stories. And we do have a volume 2 in the works.
Yep. And number 11. Yokai. I'm guessing this is how it's pronounced. Yokai. Yeah. A sci-fi novel by Wayne Carey, our buddy that we got to see this at Pulp Fest this last time. He and his wife were at the table across from us. It's a sequel to last year's El Aris. The cover art is by Ted Hammond, that guy we kind of mentioned earlier, and wonderful interior illustrations by the incredible Donald Simpson of
Megaton Man.
Megaton Man, thank you. Of Megaton Man fame and other comics illustrations. We got to meet him at Pulp Fest as well, and he's as always. Artists are interesting people, folk.
I
really enjoyed meeting Don. It was a lot.
Yeah, we did. It was one of those kind of things where apparently Wayne and he had been at an earlier convention in the year and had been con neighbors. And supposedly Don got very intrigued by the whole Airship 27 thing and had, Wayne had his previous books on his table. Well, the offshoot back and forth was Don expressed some interest in maybe illustrating Wayne's next book, which, as it turns out, was the second in this sci-fi series. and he did a great job. His interior illustrations are wonderful. All right,
Yeah,
extremely. He's a
that
pro.
was a duh moment when you got somebody of his caliber coming to you, go, yeah,
Right.
Yeah, is it okay if I illustrate one of your books? Yeah.
So here's the thing: as an editor, I usually wait for all the interior illustrations to come in when Rob's going to start assembling the book, and I always keep my fingers crossed that one of those interior illustrations will spark an idea for the cover. And sure enough, it wasn't. I mean, there were several in this book that would have made a decent cover, but I saw one in particular. Its composition just to me said, "This is what this book's about," and if we had a cover, I went to Ted Hammond, showed him Don's illustration, inspired by that. He turned in the cover he did, which is absolutely gorgeous. One of my nominees for best cover. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. And
now,
yeah.
If after Sherlock Holmes, what are Airship 27's best-selling series? Well, that would be our 12th release of the year was Bass Reeves' Frontier Marshal, Volume 5. This one featured stories by Mel Odom, Gary Phillips, Michael Panush, and Thomas McNulty, with a cover by Wayne Montgomery and the illustrations by Rob. And this, of course, is by the legendary real-life Oklahoma U.S. Deputy Marshal Bass Reeves. Since starting this series, again, this was 5, and starting this series, we've done at least one volume a year. And hey, folks, they sell like hotcakes. We could not be happier.
Yeah, when we started this, Bass Reeves was a very little known hero, a real life hero. But since then, of course, he's shown up on the Watchmen TV show. Wasn't he on? He's part of the Yosemite background stuff. I mean, he's popped up in all these places, and he's becoming more well known now. And there's even talk of either movies or TV shows.
It's a miniseries. There's an actual miniseries now being produced by Taylor Sheridan, the guy responsible for the highly successful Yellowstone.
Yellowstone. I said Yosemite, but I meant Yellowstone.
Right, right.
Same
Sheridan's a huge Western fan. If you haven't seen his other series, 1883, etc., and he's got one that's now running with Harrison Ford called 1923 or whatever. But he loves Westerns. He's all that familiar with Bass Reeves. So he got Paramount's okay
finally
last year.
With some power in Hollywood. Got
the
guy.
You have to know the quality is going to be over the roof. This is something that I'm most anxious.
I'm really looking forward to that as well. It should be great.
Right. Okay, number 13, the lucky number, fits this category just well.
Number 13, and from a guy born on Friday the 13th.
There you go.
The Last Days of Poe. R.A. Jones spins this horror novel with Chuck. Boy, I got to put my teeth in there. With Chuck Bordell providing interior illustrations, and Adam Shaw, another stunning cover artist of ours that we're very lucky to have. He did the stunning cover for this one. And this is R.A. Jones is just all over the place with different stuff that he's doing. He's a hell of a writer. As everyone who's been watching these knows, he and I are old pals from back in the comic book days when he and I did Scimitar together back at Eternity Malibu. And he's loving being a Western writer and a novelist, and we have another book coming from him later this year that's really gonna be interesting to hear about. I don't know if Ron wants to talk.
Let's talk about it, because let me get to 14, because this doesn't happen all that often. Okay, Rob just told you book number 13, which is a horror novel, all right, featuring Edgar Allan Poe. Okay. It's such a great book, and nominees for best cover. Check out Adam Shaw's cover.
So that was on my short list. I put that one up.
I did too.
One I nominated.
So what did we release within weeks? Cage Fury. All right, a Jason Killer Western by R.A. Jones. All right, which featured interiors this time by Neil Foster with a gorgeous cover by Chris Routing. Yeah. This is the third book in the series of a Civil War veteran turned bounty hunter with a strange tattoo on his left cheek looking like drops of blood. All right. I mean, R.A. is just mind-boggling original. I mean, the previous year, he'd actually given us a Peter Pan meets Alice in Wonderland book, right? Now he gives us horror books. And so every time R.A. writes and sends me something, I know something's coming, okay? And months back, he wrote me and went, I'm thinking of writing a romance novel. And I sat back and I shook my head.
Okay.
I wrote him back immediately and I said, if you write it, we'll publish it. This is it. I'm one of your biggest fans. So I am right now editing Shadow of Love. And trust me, I'm loving every single page.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I have no doubt.
There are a handful of writers in the new pulp community that always hit it out of the ballpark. R.A. Jones is one of them. I am so happy that he's a regular at Airship 27. You don't know.
So yeah. Wow. Speaking of regulars, number 15 is Jezebel Johnston, Rise of a Buccaneer. This is our second omnibus collection of the Pirate Queen series by Nancy Hansen. It contains books 5 through 8 of the series with a new cover by yours truly and all the interior illustrations from those same 5 through 8 books. And this one is we love doing this one. It's another outside the normal milieu of our pulp, but pirate stories fit right into pulp, just like romance and horror, and so it's another. But this is the only pirate book we do, except for we did Fred Adams's Fangs of the Sea, which is also kind of a pirate book. That was fun too. But that's from previous year. But anyway, yeah, this has been a very fun series to watch as it develops. Starting out with a young girl who disguises herself as a man and becomes a pirate, and now she's working herself up to being captain of a pirate ship. So this is 5 through 8 of the series is collected here. So and of course, by collecting it like this, you can get all those stories less expensively than you would if you bought each individual book, and that's kind of the whole idea here. Is
we have
more stop book, but
we have loyal fans of this series, big time.
Yeah.
And every time we release a new one, I mean, they're eager for them. And just to give you all a heads up, I've had Volume 9 in the files since the end of last year, and it's just a case of getting Rob freed up from his other drawing assignments and whatever, because Rob's been
going on.
Rob's been the main illustrator for the series from day one, which I know Nancy absolutely loves. Rob's even sent her original pieces of art, which she cherishes. So when Rob and I can work out a schedule later this year, you will be seeing Jezebel Johnston Volume 9. All right. And I'm not going to say any more about that. I think Rob made a reference which plays out rather well in 9. Let that be a clue. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, here comes number 16, Strings Attached. This is a new Sam Dunn mystery by Fred Adams Jr. The interior illustrations were by Sam Salas, with Rob providing the cover again, a photorealistic cover that actually featured my son, Kevin Fortier, and his electric guitar in the role of Sam Dunn. Fred got a kick out of that, and so did Kevin. All right, it was a great opportunity for us to bring in, me to bring in family and whatever, and we gifted Kevin with all the previous 2 Sam Dunn books. This, I think, was the 3rd Sam Dunn mystery that Fred has done for us, which is basically a musician who gets involved with murder mysteries and whatever. And Fred's another one of those guys.
Rock and roll detective.
Yeah.
Rock and roll blues detective.
There you go. All right. What was 17, Rob?
17. Counting down the hits for you. The Zeppelins Over Africa, an alternate world adventure by Gene Moyers. Artist Brian McCullough provided the cover, and Mike Harris, the gorgeous interiors. This one's been sitting in the files for a while. Mike Harris is a professional artist who, like me, is busy as heck, and tried to fit these in between the other things. So it took him a while to get this done, but they're stunning. And Brian's cover is killer. But Gene was overjoyed when this one finally came out. Zeppelins over Africa. It's like it says, an alternate world adventure where Zeppelins and airships still exist. So of course Ron was all over this one.
Oh, you know it. You know it. I had so much fun reading and editing this. Gene did a great job with it, and was really, really a fun book to finally get out there. Okay, 18, Book Hunter's Apprentice, a novel by Barbara Duran centered around Chinese magic. Gary Cotto provides interior illustrations, and Guy Davis did this really stunning, beautiful cover.
Yeah, and Guy was concerned that this wasn't like any of the other covers that we have on any of our books, and he's going, well, this really doesn't fit. And I'm going, I mean, you did the same I did. Oh, it fits the story. It fits what, it's got the right feel. It's got a very Asian block print.
Vibe. Oh, yeah.
It's got that kind of look to it. So it was perfect for what we were doing. So, hey, Guy, don't worry about it. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly what we needed for this book.
Right. It's like right. You eventually get a house feel when you do this, as long as we have, and the other companies as well. But every now and then you need to break that. Okay,
it's
that
like
mold.
Bert Calvi's Joe Computer cover.
Exactly.
That's another one that's just
right. Covers need to stand out from the crowd. Okay.
Yeah.
And Guy's use of color. All right, and that, like you said, that very, very Asian feel to the cover. It fit it perfectly. I know Barbara absolutely loved it. She flipped out. We have a second Apprentice novel in the wings, and this is another case in which Guy's busy actually right now doing a Nancy Hansen novel for us, right? But hopefully once he wraps that up and has a break in his schedule, hopefully I'm hoping late spring, early summer, we will put him on a new Book Hunters novel from Barbara, and that'll continue the series. All right, so here we go. Sherlock Holmes, number 19 release was Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Volume 18, which this time featured stories by Ray Lovato, Michael Black, and Ian Watson. Rob did all the interior illustrations, and Wayne Montgomery turned in the cover. And again, blew us away. It's always fun for us to get different artists to do the covers. And one of the caveats that we have with them is they can do whichever Sherlock Holmes they want to do, i.e., as long as he and Watson are on the cover, they can do Jeremy Brett. They can do Peter Cushing. They can do, and I mean, Ted Hammond, our guy we've been pushing along, had done a very young Sherlock Holmes for one of these in the series a while back. So again, giving that direction to Warren. Warren turns out giving us what I consider a classic Sherlock Holmes and Watson, but his own.
Yeah,
I really don't match it to any of the film stars, but it's Sherlock Holmes and Watson, and it works.
It's his vision of what Sherlock and Watson look like, and that's fine. That's exactly what we're looking for. We want that every artist to give us their idea what Holmes looks like.
Right.
And I've varied mine a little bit, but Jeremy Brett is the one that usually pops into my mind when I'm doing them. So, but anyway, another 18. We're counting down to number 20, which will be a special book. So stay tuned.
Oh yeah, stay tuned. It will floor you, believe me. All right, we got big plans. First, we're going to get. We got too much. No. We've got to get 19 out. We've got to get 19 out, which is a good lag time because I'm waiting on one more story for that special 11 from Andrew Salmon, who, as we mentioned last episode, had recently gone to some very serious surgery up in Canada. He's recovering now. He's home. He's doing great, and he's back to writing that story for us. So we need to get 19 out, and then hopefully, hey, to everybody involved with the project, it's our drive to have it out before the end of the year.
Late 23 or early 24 for 20. For number 20, probably 2024 is when that will come out. Maybe that might be a good one to start out 2024 with if we can get it. So that would be a lot of fun, I think. But anyway,
okay, your turn.
Greg Hatcher's, this is number 20. Greg Hatcher's Dr. Fix-It. This is what I mentioned earlier that collects all of Greg's Dr. Fix-It stories under one book. And it's by Greg Hatcher and Fred Adams Jr., who finished that one unfinished story I mentioned. Reprints the first 3 Dr. Fix-It stories from Mystery Men and Women, and the final tale begun by Greg before his passing and completed by Fred Adams Jr. Interior art is by me. Cover art by Chris Kohler. It's a very fun cover. It's very, and then I ended up coloring it because Chris wanted to do it himself, but had to bow out because I think a project came up really quickly and he couldn't finish it. So I got to color it as well, which was a lot of fun. But Julie Hatcher, Greg's wife, wrote a very special introduction to this book, and it's included along with those 4 stories, 3 reprints and 1 brand new story from Greg and Fred Adams Jr. But they're all fun reading. When I read that 4th story, I couldn't tell where Greg left off and Fred started over. Fred did an excellent job of capturing the feel of Greg's character and the storytelling style, and I congratulate him on putting together a great.
Hey, I want to take this opportunity to thank all our loyal airmen out there who knew Greg personally, who were friends of his. All right. Because you really, really stepped up to help Julie. And basically, I just the other day sent her a royalty check for the last fiscal quarter of 2022. And it was a big one, people. Okay. It was a nice check. All right. It warmed my heart to send her that. Okay. So, hey, in his memory. Okay. I'm so glad we got this book out. All right. Then another writer that we've been working with for many, many years. This book was fun for us to do. Years ago, he had sent me a ton of stories and said, "Can you do anything with these shorts?" Well, we did. Brad Siner, pulp writer, the second in this series, spotlighting a veteran writer, Brad Siner, and features 15 of his short stories. Artist Warren Montgomery provided the interior illustrations, and Rob produced the cover again in the same feel with the typewriter look on it and everything else that we had done for the first volume.
Realistic, again.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Yeah.
It's a fun thing to do to showcase writers because, again, most of our anthologies only have 15,000 words. All right, it's up to 60,000, and so we don't print shorts all that much. But these writers do. They write short stories for other publishers and whatever, and ultimately end up collecting, like Brad did, 15 of them. And what do I do with these? Well, creating this pulp writer series basically opens that field up for us in that we can take a bunch of these shorts, which we normally wouldn't have had a home for, and now put them together and highlight the writer himself.
Yeah, and we've got some great creators working for us, so it's great that we can kind of highlight that with the book series like this. The first one we did was from Fred Adams, who and he's got several series that he's working on with us, and he had brand new stories for each one of these characters that he's doing. So that we could highlight that. Somebody who might be interested in Fred's writing can go, well, which of these series would I like? Well, here they are all in one place, and you can sample those series in that way.
There you go.
It was a great book and a great way to start this particular series of books called Pulp Writer. Writer's name, Pulp Writer. So, and then put typewriters on the cover. Even though you younger folks probably don't even know what a typewriter is.
Okay, buddy. Hey, how did we wrap up the year?
Yeah, it's an analog keyboard, folks. So anyway, number 22.
Drum roll.
The Adventures of Radio Rita, Volume 1. So when we put Volume 1 on something, we know we're going to do more. So the first ever collection of adventure stories featuring Airship 27's very own manager of Hangar 27, the beautiful Radio Rita, is out with stories by Teal James Glenn, Samantha Leinhart, Gene Moyers, and Mel Odom. yours truly provided tons of wonderful. He wrote this. I wouldn't have said one.
They're amazing. They're absolutely amazing.
Tons of wonderful interior illustrations, and Ted Hammond delivered a stunning cover. Now that
yeah.
As this is our last title of 2022, we really went out with a bang. Thanks to one and all for purchasing it. It hadn't been out very long, but it ended up in the fourth quarter sales, and it was right up there. It wasn't quite Sherlock Holmes numbers, but it hadn't been out that long. But that book has done very well for us. There's more stories in the pipeline. We've got writers stepping up, going, "Hey, can I write a story for this?" It's a fun series. No two stories have essentially the same Radio Rita in them. The only thing that's the same in these is that her name is Rita, and she's an aviator. And she's got red hair, and you even just
we did the body type. I mean, this is her. She's 5'7" or whatever, green eyes, red hair. She's a pilot, and that's it. Go to it. Go have fun. And they did. They whipped up some.
And I'm offering up, if anybody's interested in nominating me for the Pulp Factory Awards, the illustrations from this are one of the ones that I put out there as, hey, take a look at these and see if you think these aren't worth.
I got to tell you, every story from Teal, Glenn James, the first one that came to me, and then subsequent stories, and then the last one was from Mel Odom. Mel also teaches writing at a college, so Mel was falling behind the gun, and we were writing, and he kept wanting to do something different with his Radio Rita, which he ultimately did. He and I threw some ideas at him. He came back with this and that. But one of the coolest things he did in his Radio Rita story that you got to illustrate, all right, and I'm going to tell it out here because he got to have Radio Rita meet Amelia Earhart.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob gets to illustrate that meeting. Oh, when I flipped out. That was so great.
Yeah,
that was,
you know how we do this. We've mentioned this so many times. We don't pick out the most exciting section of the book to do our illustrations on. They come at a mathematical sequence in the story, but this time that one fell right dead on that meeting between Amelia and Radio Rita, and I went, all right. I love doing research. Also in that same image is Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes
introducing the two.
Introducing them.
So I got the
Shades of Rocketeer
and Amelia Earhart and the stunning Radio Rita all in one illustration with a hanger behind them. And so this book was a lot of fun for everyone involved. It really was.
And you could tell because all the writers after the book was released and they all picked up their copies and whatever were so excited. They're all on board to do more. And so hopefully later this year, as 2023 goes along, we may see a volume 2 of The Adventures of Radio Rita. And I got to tell you, folks, as much as I am proud of every single anthology that we put out last year, this one I am beating the drums for best anthology collection for the Pulp Factory Awards. All right. I have no shame, Rob, none whatsoever. Okay. I want to go to Chicago and walk away with that prize for The Adventures of Radio Rita because our creators deserve it. It would. Fun. All right, folks, there you go. We just wrapped up 22 titles.
The year that was.
And so before we close shop, we do want to talk a little bit about what's coming ahead. All right. What can you expect? Well, obviously, one of the things that's right up there right now, and will most likely be our next release, is The Purple Scar, Volume 4. This features stories by Gene Moyers, Felix Cruz, and what am I saying? This was released. Excuse me, Rob. My bad. My bad.
No, I'm going, didn't we? Yeah, I'm thinking, didn't we put this out? Wait a minute, is that still at the proofread? No, that one's out. Yeah, this one's out.
I had a senior moment. What am I going to do? Recently released. I should read my own print. That's recently released. The first book of 2023 was The Purple Scar, Volume 4. Again, let me reiterate. Features stories by Gene Moyers, Felix Cruz, Michael Housel, and Fred Adams Jr., with interior illustrations by Chuck Burdell's having so much fun working for us again. And we're tickled pink to have him back. He did the illustrations for The Last Days of Poe, and he has a feeling for the macabre. So when we were doing Purple Scar, I knew he was the guy for this, and he delivered. Adam Shaw turned in another amazing cover. It's blowing people away. I mean, Jay Sweet already wrote me and said, "You know what? I'm jotting this down for the awards for next year."
Unlike, and it's unlike some of the other covers that he's done for us. It's similar, but it's similar, but it's different. Boy, that sounds great, doesn't it? But it is. But he's. And he actually sent us, how many did he send us? 2 or 3?
3 of them. 3 of them.
He sent us
finished, completed.
Well, which one of these do you want to use? All of them? We'll just save them for the next 2.
That's exactly what we're going to do.
We're taking care of there for a while. But yeah, he did 3 stunning covers for us of the Purple Scar, and you'll see them. You'll see them on the next couple of volumes as well.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with the character of the Purple Scar, is a plastic surgeon named Miles Murdoch, whose cop brother was killed by the mob after they threw acid in his face and dumped him in the river. By the time his body was discovered, his face was horribly disfigured. Murdoch later snuck into the morgue and made a death mask from his brother's face and became the frightening Avenger known as the Purple Scar.
What a cob, weird pulp character Purple Scar is. I mean, think about this. This guy has made a rubber mask of his dead brother's emaciated, just scarred up face, puts that on and fights crime. Man, you talk about Batman putting the fear of God into people. Oh, can you imagine this scarred looking guy coming at you? So
that's out. That's out right now. Please go check it out on Amazon and Kindle. What's coming after it, Rob?
Okay. What's coming next is After Sunset, a Western novel by Jonathan Casey. Artist Sam Salas is currently doing interior illustrations. Shannon Hall will do the cover.
We're almost done with this. In that Sam, I think, has got maybe 7 of the 9 illustrations finished.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the files, but that sounds
right. So that's coming together real quick. And much to our surprise, this isn't in the notes. It just only happened, yesterday, right? As Rob is
always talking about how, we can say what's coming and then suddenly something will come, everything will come together really quickly on one book. This is a perfect example of that. Go ahead.
Which is out of the blue yesterday sometime, Rob and I both get an email with art attachments from artist Howard Simpson, all 9 interior illustrations for Bulldog Drummond, Volume 3, Faded Hook by Ian Watson. Here you go, guys. Okay, it's yours. So now, I send Rob the manuscript. Rob's got the art. He's going to start assembling the book. And I wrote Howard, thanked him because the illustrations are beautiful. They're fantastic. They're great. And he gets back to us on top of all this, goes, can I do the cover? Twist my arm, buddy. Twist my arm.
No, I'm sorry. No, we're not going to let you do the cover. Well,
so
yes.
I got back to him and basically said, okay, look, do me a favor, okay? Because we asked this of everybody who's going to do art for us, especially covers. I says, give me a couple of ideas. Give me a couple of rough compositions. Well, he gave us 4 by the end of the last night.
4, yeah.
Yeah. And one of them was totally dramatic, exactly what I wanted. Told Rob. Rob's already made a mock-up of it.
You could tell from the rendering of this particular sketch that this was his favorite because he did a lot more. He did a lot more detailed work on this sketch than he had done the others. But it's very striking. It's perfect for this book. This is the feel we want for him, for this character. Yeah.
And I mean, this is a reimagining by artist Ian Watson, and I love the first 2. I got a hold of Ian last night via email. He's tickled pink that the book's almost ready to come out now. So that'll probably be.
I've got it assembled with. Howard is still got to send me the final full size versions. He's a meticulous artist. I think he looked at these and looked at the finished pieces and he goes, I want to tweak these a little bit. So he sent us these low resolution versions. I've laid those in for now, and we'll probably send it off to the proofreader with those in. And then when Howard gets the cover and the those tweaked interiors, we'll rework the book, put those in. But it's ready to go off to the proofreader now as soon as we get somebody that will be interested and willing to do it. But it's Ian Watson, so you know it's going to be great because he's a hell of a writer.
Yeah.
He's done at least one story in every Sherlock Holmes book we've done. He did Robin of Sherwood, the Robin Hood. He did a series of books for us on that. He's just, you read his work and you go, the very first novel, he says the very first novel he ever wrote was our first Robin Hood novel. And I'm going, wait, this was your first novel? Because he just knocked Robin Hood out of the park.
Yeah.
I loved that book. And I love his writing. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've called him a genius before, and that's not an understatement. All right, I mean, the guy's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. His reimagining Bulldog Drummond. For those of you unfamiliar, go to Google, okay? But Bulldog Drummond was created in the late 1920s. He is by far one of the first original gentleman adventurers. I mean, he predates the Saint, all right, and all these others that would come later. All right. I mean, you want to talk James Bond or anybody else. All right. Bulldog was it. And ultimately, by the time we get to the
mold that everyone else like that was cast into. Yeah.
Right. And so, like I said, by the time we got to the late 30s, Hollywood's making tons of movies, and half a dozen actors, British and American, have played him in film, going all the way to the mid-1960s when they tried to revive him because of the James Bond popularity and whatever. So it was one of those itches that I had a long time ago about, wouldn't it be cool to bring back Bulldog Drummond? Okay, only this time, all right, like I said, a modern-day adventurer, all right, a former military vet who fought in Afghanistan, Iraq.
Forces,
with his team, okay? And they get in all kinds of trouble, which the military doesn't care for much these days. But Ian got that vibe down pat, and Howard did the illustrations for the first two books, and again did them for this book. He's doing an amazing job. This will be his first cover for Airship 27, so I'm very excited about that as well. Thank you, Howard. Truly appreciate that.
Yeah, hopefully he can get that to us fairly quickly. But the sketch he sent us is great. I can't wait to see what he does with it. He's a very talented artist, so it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with for the final for that cover. All we've seen so far from him is black and white artwork for interior.
Right. That's right. I'm curious how he handles
to see his color palette, see what he does there.
So then you're working on what arguably will be the third book of the year, which is
Mark Justice's The Dead Sheriff, Volume 5, A Cold and Lonesome Grave by Philip Pan. In this one, the zombie sheriff and his master, half-breed Chevelle, also calling himself Sam, find themselves in the Canadian Rockies, where they encounter a family of Sasquatch, better known as Bigfoot. Yours truly, I'm doing the interior illustrations, and Michael Youngblood will be doing the cover for it. I'm about I'm down to the last illustration or two on that, I think. It's a novel, so it's be 9. I think I'm on number 7 now, 6 or 7. I forget where I am on it. I'll have to do, because I'm trying to, as always, I'm doing a bunch of different stuff all at once. So I slide this in, do that, then I slide in the next project, and and then I go back to the beginning and I slide. So that's where I am with this. I'm not sure exact. It's a couple of days ago I actually did the last illustration for it, and then suddenly, boom, this book gets dropped in my lap that I have to assemble. So,
never a quiet moment in hangar 27.
That's the job here. I'm in the hangar waiting for the Zeppelins to come in.
I am just so tickled pink with this particular volume of Dead Sheriff. I've loved all the others in the past, and then again, as all you already know, this was created by the late Mark Justice, and so now we've done 5 of volumes of this, and his widow, Norma Kay, could not be happy. She is a jewel. Rob and I have met her before at several conventions. She is so happy that we've continued this series and this character that Mark had created and invented. So yeah, Dead Sheriff meets Bigfoot. What more can you ask from a weird Western series? All right, and there you go. So look, hey, there's tons more coming. I'm looking at the clock here. We're fast getting to
in. Yeah, we're an
hour in.
Folks. But
this
is the year-end recap. So yeah, it's going to be.
It is what it is.
Usual.
But here we go. Bonds, bad jokes,
bad jokes.
Yes. I love this one. So hang in there, Rob. Here we go.
Okay, here we go.
This really rough-looking hombre rides into this sleepy little Mexican town. And as he's riding along, right, he looks and everybody in the town is looking at him really suspicious, like giving him the evil eye, right? He goes up to the saloon. He gets out of his horse, right, and ties it to the hitch, and goes into the saloon. And all the cowboys and the Mexican sombrero guys, everybody really stop talking and look at him as he walks up to the bar. He's really getting the eye. So he gets up to the bar, and the bartender comes over, and he says, "What'd he be?" He says, "Give me a beer." Bartender pours him a beer, and he says, "What's with the evil eye and everybody looking at me?" So the bartender looks at him. So he says, "I hate to tell you, but he says people in this town really don't like strangers. I'd be careful the way you act around here, okay?" All right. So without further ado, he figures I'm not going to hang around here. He finishes his beer, puts his 2 bits on the table, and walks out the door. And as he's coming out of the saloon, he looks, his horse is gone. It's gone. And all the people sitting around the streets, both sides, are looking at him, funny like. Takes a breath, walks out into the middle of the road, puts his hands on the butts of his pistol, and says, "All right." He says, "I'm not putting up with this shit anymore. Okay? So I'm going back in the saloon. I'm going to have another beer. If I come back out and my horse isn't back tied to that hitch," he said, "you do not want to know." He says, "what happened to me in Texas when I went through this before. You do not want to know." He turned around, went back into the saloon. Everybody went to sit down again. He went to the bar and ordered another beer. Drinking the beer, right? Taking his time. Finally, looking at the clock. He's been there for about 10 minutes. Puts another 2 bits down, starts for the door, adjusting his gun belt. Everybody follows him, including the bartender. He comes out the door, and there's his horse, tied up. He sighs. Decides to get on his horse. Said, "Man, I am really glad I didn't have to do what I did in Texas." The bartender looks at him and says, "What'd you have to do in Texas?" He says, "Walk home."
Oh my gosh.
Sideways.
All that build up for that silly payoff.
Walk home.
Oh man.
I told this to Todd and some of my buddies at the local comic shop. They have a cafe. We get together like once a week for a coffee. And I told them this one to gauge their reactions. I thought half of these guys were going to fall out of their chairs. They were laughing. "What'd you do in Texas?" "I had to walk home." Tough cowboy.
Rides out.
All right. Hey, anything else you want to mention before we wrap this up?
No, I better not. We're past the hour, and we've just dumped a really bad joke in their lap. So let's not.
Okay, I'm with you.
Let's not force ourselves on them anymore. But yeah, looking forward to another great year from Airship 27. We've been doing this for quite a while now, and it's still fun. It's still a lot of fun to do this. So
always,
and we're some great stuff is coming in and being dropped in our laps. Every month we get some really interesting stuff, either great stories or great illustrations. Pushing everybody who's a Pulp Factory member, nominate
Please.
and put up your favorite books for us to once we get all those nominations in, they decide who the top 3 or 4 are. Then they'll put together the actual ballot, and everyone in the whole world will get an opportunity to vote on it. So all you Airship 27 fans, get out there and if you're on the Pulp Factory, nominate. Once the nominations are completed and the ballots out there, get out there and vote. We want to, and we would really like to see Dr. Fix-It at least to be nominated, and it would be great if it would win. That would be fantastic for us. We'd be thrilled. We'd be happy for Greg's widow for this book to win for her. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that.
All right, hey, sign us up, buddy.
All right, this is Chief Engineer Rob Davis signing off.
And as ever, Captain Ron's only too happy to say, down ship.